Buenas tardes, chicos. Soy Profe Young. Today we're going to talk about el subjuntivo. We're going to continue talking about its uses, this time con cláusulas relativas, and that's a fancy linguistic way to say relative clauses, which we're going to try and describe and define during this video lesson. So here's a big fancy linguistic definition that I'm going to try and break down for you. A relative clause modifies or describes a noun. If the noun refers to a definite person or thing, the indicative means not subjunctive, is used in the relative clause. If the noun refers to an indefinite person or thing, the subjunctive is used in the relative clause. So now what we're trying to describe is when we use the subjunctive versus the non-subjunctive. So the word we'll be using for non-subjunctive is the indicative. I've given you two examples down here below, and we'll try and explain how they're different. Okay, so the first one says Donato. I'm right here if you don't see me. Okay, Donato tiene un amigo que habla español. You'll notice, if you don't know what that means Donato has a friend that speaks Spanish. Okay, so when we're talking about a definite person or thing, right, he has a friend. That means this is a thing that is true, that is an affirmation. He has a friend that speaks Spanish. So the speaks here is going to be in the indicative because this is a definite person being modified by the relative clause. Okay. The second one here, okay, says Donato quiere un amigo que hable español. And what you'll notice here is that this one is in the subjunctive. And the reason that it's in the subjunctive is because Donato wants a friend that speaks Spanish. He doesn't have one now, but in the future or at some time that's coming, this is an uncertainty, he wants a friend that speaks Spanish. And so that second verb there needs to be a subjunctive. This is the basic principle of how you use the subjunctive with the relative clause. So anything in the first part that's modified by that que on the other part, like a friend that speaks Spanish, or a friend that is nice, or a person who understands me, those kinds of things that you want in the future that you do not yet have are going to be in the subjunctive. The second use here is that the subjunctive is used in a relative clause. Again, that's that second part of the clause that modifies the noun. The subjunctive is used in a relative clause that modifies a superlative, that's the best or est statement, or a negative expression. So there's some examples here. Okay, it says, es el mejor libro que exista. This is going to be subjuntivo. Okay, it's the best book that exists in the world, even though that's a statement of its opinion, but we might think of it as an affirmation or fact. This is what we call a superlative statement, because you're saying it is the best book that exists in the world. Okay, so that superlative statement shows that it needs to be the subjunctive. The other one is when you have a negative expression, right? No hay nadie que lo haga como él. Means there is nobody that does it like him. Okay, so which means that this is our negative statement here. No hay nadie. There's no one. And then we're going to need subjunctive on this side because it is a negative expression. Okay, so if we want to go back just a little bit and make sure that we understand something here, when it's talking about modifying a noun, the noun here in each of these sentences is un amigo, right? And that's being modified by this whole phrase, right? This whole phrase is modifying un amigo, a friend that speaks Spanish, right? And that's also done here. And the difference between these two statements is only that one is definite and the other is indefinite. Okay? So, a question that I'm going to ask you tomorrow when you come into class is, ¿Qué buscas en un futuro novio o novia? Which means, what are you looking for in a future boyfriend or girlfriend? Okay? And you would start by saying, yo busco una persona que, or yo quiero estar con una persona que. And there are other phrases you can use. But these mean I'm looking for a person that, and I want to be with a person that. Okay, so these things obviously mean that there's a level of uncertainty or indefiniteness. So what's going to follow those is the subjunctive. Okay, so be prepared to work with that mañana cuando vengan a la clase. Muchas gracias y nos vemos mañana.